article to you for this module. This is the article that you'll be reading is titled Prescriptive Analysis, Further Individualization of Hypothesis Testing in a Brief Experimental Analysis of Reading. And it is by myself and my good colleagues who were at the time graduate students, Dana Wagner, Melissa Coulong-Chafin, Aaron Holton, Mimi McDonald, and Emily Mon. And it was based on some work done by Ed Daly and his colleagues in 1997. So in that article, in the 1997 article that Ed Daly and his colleagues wrote, they listed a number of hypotheses for why students might not be performing academically as we would want them to. So they're performing poorly. And among those hypothesized reasons were that the student was not motivated, that that the student had not had enough practice, and that the student had not had enough instruction. So we had done some work along those lines, testing those hypotheses and finding some good results. But we also found that there were times when there were some nuances about the students' behavior during reading that told us that we might need to look at some strategies that were a little bit more specific. So our research question was, what is the effect of modified interventions such as varied levels of modeling or varied contingencies on reading fluency of students whose reading fluency is below grade level expectation? So we were working with 3 elementary school students. They were 2nd and 3rd graders, and they were accurate readers but slow readers. And they attended a school where 86% of the students were qualified to receive free and reduced price lunch. So, as you've been learning in this module, when we're collecting data and using single case designs, the data need to be, the dependent variable needs to be reliable, it needs to be operational, and it needs to be repeatedly measured. So often in academics, as you read in the or as in module 2 at least, and I think in 3, you talked about general outcome measures and mastery measures and those kinds of things. So this is a little bit of an extension of that, in which we were using general outcome measures from AIMSweb, and we were also using STEEP passages from our good colleague Joe Witt, and we were using his passages and high word overlap passages. So we were measuring fluency as defined as correct words per minute. So that's a very operational definition. It is reliable in that 2 people can observe a student reading and count the same words that they are reading, and errors and depending on your definition, your operational definition of correct and errors and those kinds of things. And then repeat that daily, weekly, bi-weekly, those kinds of things. So we entered the study with baseline observations of their reading fluency on the general outcome probes. And then we moved into a brief experimental analysis where we manipulated some strategies that we thought would be effective for the students based on their reading performance and our hypotheses based for why they might not be performing very well. And for our students, 2 of them, Nat and Pan, we noticed that as they were reading, they were losing their place often and skipping words or skipping lines that they weren't really tracking. So a behavior that we really needed them to engage in while they were reading was tracking, and we often teach students to do that with their finger. So for them, our modification was to examine the effect of reinforcing tracking behavior, not just reinforcing their correct words per minute, but reinforcing the behavior that was going to lead them to that, which was tracking. For Amira, she was very easily distractible during sessions, and she didn't skip words or lose her place, but she often looked around. And so what we really wanted to do, what we were concerned that if we modeled an entire passage for her, she wouldn't attend long enough. We wouldn't be able to hold her attention long enough. So we wanted to look at the effects of maybe listen word preview or listen sentence preview as they might compare to listen passage preview. So those were the kinds of things we tested in the brief experimental analysis, the BEA, and then we followed that with and extended analysis. So for all of the 3 participants, we had that baseline condition where we had baseline performance. Then we implemented the intervention that was identified in the brief experimental analysis, and we saw we've got contrasting phases both in the BEA, where we've got multi-elements, and at least for Amira, we've got an ABA, where we've got intervention, and then we withdrew intervention because she reached her target, and we went to work with other students, but we continued to progress monitor, and because she wasn't practicing daily with us anymore, she lost fluency, kind of like you would if you were playing piano, a piece on the piano, or soccer or something where you're not practicing as much, you're not quite as fluent. She didn't lose accuracy, but she lost fluency. So when we brought her back into the intervention, her growth increased again, her performance increased again, and we were able to see those changes in her behavior in those contrasting phases. So that's in a nutshell the study. I'll let you read it to see how it came out and how the students did. And I thank you very much for your interest in this work, and I look forward to meeting more of you and to talking with any of you who are interested in this kind of work. Thanks very much.